Welcome everybody to another episode of Does This Offend You? Today we talk about the metaverse, virtual reality, cryptocurrency, NFTs, whatever the fuck all that means because I barely have any clue. What the future holds for all of us and how we are a lot closer to the reality depicted in the Matrix than you may actually think. Thanks for watching and stay tuned.
What do I have to say to make some money? What do I have to say to make some money? No offense.
Alrighty then, folks. Welcome into episode 5. Today we are talking about NFTs, BBE. What's the? I forgot what we're talking about, dude. I honestly.
We're talking about the VR world.
Okay, let me try that.
Metaverse.
Okay. I'm just so fucking tired. I really am. So fucking tired. All right, make sure.
I'm tired of you.
Yeah, I really am. Okay. Welcome in, everybody. Episode 5. Today we are talking about what, Vlad? Remind me.
Metaverse, VR, NFTs. All the brain ruining concepts that are out right now.
Cool.
Next step in evolution.
Well, we already know what your stance is on this, so why don't you lead us, since this is your topic, lead us off. Tell us first of all, what is the metaverse? What are NFTs? You want to break this all down for all the people out there who don't know what the fuck these are? Because this is a relatively new concept. I barely know what they are. And you sent us like an essay. I was explaining it, and I still don't get it.
So
yeah.
basically, imagine if we took the Matrix mixed with, if you've ever seen the movie Ready Player One, or most like, I don't know, cyberpunk type of ideals from movies and video games and brought them into the real world. That is essentially the beginning of the metaverse. It's a digital, internet-based, out-of-your-body, psychological embedment of you being in a world that isn't real, but you get to interact with others around you through what normally would be a computer, a console, or a VR headset. And today we're going to be breaking down all of that and seeing what are going to be the effects of this sort of thing. Will it be beneficial? Will it be destructive? For me, the way I'm kind of looking at it in a simple perspective is, I feel like humans, it's the next step in our human evolution through technology, because, back in the day, we had books, and when books were becoming a popular thing, people who were working out in the fields and, having to do manual labor were saying, don't waste your time reading on books, they're going to only be hazards towards you later down the line. When televisions became a thing, we essentially had the same thing happen. And I remember reading an article online where people were writing like that society will not have time to sit around and stare at a blank screen or stare at a screen in general with moving pictures on it, because we all have things to do. And the article stated that this is all just gonna be a fad that'll blow over. But boy, were they wrong. And after that, we had PCs, computers. Then we had cell phones. That also, now we have a lot of zombified people who completely walk around constantly looking at their phone, texting, calling, just can't get rid of it, can't put it down. And now I think, like I said, we're taking the next step in our evolution is we're going to this metaverse. And yeah, I'm not sure I'm quite happy with it. And I think that this could generally be the most disruptive thing that could be happening out of that whole entire list. What do you guys think?
Now, I'm going to jump in here spitefully and say, after last episode, guys, we drifted off topic a little bit with that intro. Does that sound familiar?
I mean, I'm giving you I told you we're going to be analyzing.
Yes, okay, good. So, if for those who aren't familiar, check out last week's episode 4, where we talked about dating apps. This is kind of the way it started. We're kind of worried about technology and where it's leading the human race. And Vlad does have a couple good points. I don't like the fact that we're spending most of our time in a virtual world. You've seen it all before. Hollywood has definitely, there was a phase in Hollywood where all they did was talk about like the destructive force of technology and people just not living in the real world. You said you brought up Ready Player One, correct?
Yeah, Ready Player One, The Matrix, Cyberpunk. Those are just a few off the top of my head right now.
Gamer, if you ever seen Gamer, it's an older one. It's kind of an obscure one. It's Gerard
What was that
Butler.
one with the Tron? Remember Tron?
Tron's a classic. Tron Legacy, which is not as classic, but they tried. Good for them. Yeah, no, I see your point. So I don't know how are we gonna break down this entire conversation, because there's a lot we can talk about. We can talk about VR headsets. We can talk about, well, I mean, what else did you have in there? NFTs.
We have NFTs. We have crypto technically as well, because they're.
How are those equated? Because NFTs and crypto don't involve you going to any virtual space. Your money goes to a virtual space.
It does.
You don't. Your money does,
you do.
and your art goes to a virtual space.
Well, that's the thing. If you watch the video that I sent you guys, Omid also, it's kind of like, imagine owning virtual real estate through things that exist in the VR world. You own that, and like what a lot of people are doing with the NFTs, they buy, like, remember the guy in the video said somebody bought a racetrack piece in the virtual world and was charging people each time they used it in the VR world.
What?
That makes sense?
No, it doesn't. It really doesn't.
I mean,
So-
is it real estate or is it more of like an asset? I feel like it's I don't know. Seems like a virtual asset more than anything, where you just kind of own something and then at some point you're charging people for usage of the rights of it. Like virtual intellectual property is another way to put it.
I mean, it's like you brought up when you were asking me when we were trying to clarify what this was. You were talking about like Farmville, and if you had the only, like, what was it, shovel or something?
Yeah, we'll call it a rake or something.
Yeah, if you were to own that rake and or shovel in that world, and somebody used it, you could technically charge them for every time they picked it up or moved it or whatever, every swing they did.
Yeah.
That's essentially where people are profiting off of it, because, and the NFT concept there is that you own the source code to it. So if somebody tried to, copy it and make a duplicate, they can do it all they want, but they don't have the original source code because you own it. And it's locked away behind such a high security system that there's really almost no way to get it unless you're an extremely good hacker, which I don't think they've been able to find anybody that's been able to crack those codes yet. Not yet. Of course, anything you have will always have that loophole where someday somebody might come around and steal your stuff because they're just that good.
Okay, but what you're saying is, so what I understand and what you kind of just touched on is that the blockchain allows for anybody who created a digital asset, they have ownership of it, and everybody knows they have ownership of it. They have complete control of whatever the copyright, I should say.
Yes.
It's digital copyright.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Dude, I was gonna wait to kind of touch on this later, but I think that's actually one of the biggest developments from an artistic standpoint. I don't care what it means for people living in the virtual realm. That's a whole different topic. But as far as art goes, and like as an artist myself, being a musician, I think this is huge for them, because like, what was that, early 2000s, Napster came along and basically just opened the world up. You can just send music to all your peers, take it, you buy it one time, right? And then after that, the copies get sent worldwide, and there's no way of tracking it. And basically, CDs died. Selling music died that day. And now this is bringing it back.
And so is party movies.
Yeah, exactly. Same thing with movies. Although Hollywood didn't suffer as much as the music industry. I can say that for a fact. That means Hollywood still, tons of money goes through Hollywood. But the fact of the matter is, as an artist, the whole, anybody who's ever created anything with their hands, or they created music, or they put it online digitally, I don't know, whatever. If it's ever existed if it's ever been created to sell, to give away, to have people enjoy also, but actually pay the artists, this is bringing that back. Like, this is now, we're turning that around. At one point, yeah.
Which you're right. But the problem here is that, for me, like I said, I agree with you, because in real life you have artwork, there's ways to, make sure that it's, you can verify that it's a legitimate thing. It's the actual, not a knockoff, with however they put the signatures and whatnot. But the problem here is that, for me, at least with NFTs right now, is the inflation aspect of how much people are, putting value on these stock, and the fact that companies are using these NFTs of whatever the hell it is, pictures and whatnot, to basically buy and sell stock in companies.
I
It's exploitive.
Yeah, I kind of see what you're saying. I've seen that NFTs being used as sort of like a membership or kind of like a prestige membership where if you own a certain one, then you have access to a whole world that a lot of other people wouldn't. But I'm also seeing NFTs as kind of beneficial for certain people, like, for example, music artists, or not just that, but even comedians, where you can basically take yourself as an entity and if you sell an NFT of yourself, it's almost like you're sharing stocks of your success. So when you have outside people buy into you as a person, they're investing in you. Every time you put out a new music video, every time you put out a new track or whatever, everybody who's invested in you is almost incentivized as well to market you and push your product forward because now your success becomes their success. This is like the OG source for anybody who was ever a hipster that said, I knew that person before they were famous. Show me the receipts. This is everyone's opportunity to not only show their receipts, but also for artists to be more independent. Because if you look at back in the day, we all saw that Super Bowl halftime show. Literally everybody there was owned by Dre. Eminem is owned by Dre, and then Eminem owns 50 Cent, and I don't mean that in like a slavery kind of thing, okay?
Holy shit.
But but
Jesus
but
Christ, dude.
back back in the day,
Why?
like if you signed a music contract, you signed your life away. Like literally every dollar that Rihanna makes, um, I think Akon gets a kick of it, but has to kick it back to 50 Cent, who kicks it back to Eminem, who kicks it back to Dre, and it's just a long chain of ownership. But now with NFTs, I think we're seeing opportunities for individuals to sell stocks of themselves and their own success, and therefore not only push their brand forward, but make money off it. Like you can profit off your own stuff now. I think there's a lot of opportunity here.
Yeah, not just now. It's like the operative term is again. You can finally actually, as an artist, profit off your stuff again. And I'm not saying that Eminem or Dr. Dre or 50 Cent are ever suffering in this day and age. Like they're grandfathered in. They've been making money in music for hand in hand for a long time. I'm talking about like independent artists, real artists. Like the last 20 years have been just subjected to whatever. Like you have to like go find different means of getting your word out and without making any money, like SoundCloud or YouTube, whatever. And then the money comes later through like donations or like ad revenue. It's like your actual product, whatever you produced, was not making you any money. And this is what I think is actually super beneficial about NFTs. And it's not just music. It could be like, imagine going to Google and ripping a photo off of Google and using that. Now, whoever took that picture or drew that graphic up gets credit for it and money for it. And it's fucking. I think it's awesome. I love the direction this has taken society, or taking it back.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I agree with you in regards to visual art, like pictures. Even though people can still technically rip it off, make whatever screenshot and use it. It's just gonna be, if they're gonna try to sell it as the legitimate thing, then you can be like, let me verify it. It comes back false. You're like, that's not the original thing. It doesn't mean that somebody still can't pull it. I don't think that there's gonna be any real way to source it to see if it's been pulled off and used for a different project. I don't think that's capable yet. However, the question here is, what benefit does it really have to music in the aspect? Because music, even if you put it behind a blockchain, somebody can still, play it, record it, and then distribute it, and it's gonna have the same effect as, pirating beforehand, because people can still hear it. That's the whole entire notion of us being able to enjoy it.
Covering a song or making your own version of it is not pirating. All you're doing is promoting the artists. And if you went out and said, I made this myself, yeah, that's kind of like, so crediting.
Well, I'm talking
artists,
about when I say pirating, I'm talking about like Napster, download and just share to everybody.
Yeah, well, that's what blockchain and NFTs will prevent, right? Because you're always gonna have.
What if you just play the song and are able to like use some sort of program just to record it as it's being played on your, let's say you bought it and you use a secondary program that while it's playing on your computer, it records a song and then you have a copy. It's the same quality, but it just won't have the source code.
So as if someone had just taken like their phone crudely and held it up to the speaker and was like, "This."
Yeah, or has like a professional program that can record this playthrough.
and then they pass off that, and then they start selling that. I don't know. Maybe would an NFT prevent that? Because there's already technology.
I don't think so.
Well, think about it this way: there's already technology that exists that would stop you from doing that, and it's right here on YouTube or wherever. I mean, we're mainly on YouTube, but guess what? If I slap like a fucking Metallica track over this, I'd get cited right away. They take the video down, or I'd get hit with a copyright infringement. There's already technology that exists that will find audio. And if it is carbon copy, like you say it is, if there's a technology that can do that, there's already technology that exists that counteracts that already finds these tracks. So if your music or whatever you created exists in a public forum already, there's ways that it's already it's preventative, so people can't rip that off and use it for I think that's cool. As much as it is frustrating as somebody who uses YouTube I just want to use a track for free just to help my video out or do something just like it makes sense with the whatever I was doing. I get slapped with a copyright. I'm not even like making money off of it. It's a little frustrating, sure, but I do agree that like in every artist, I think credit is beyond money, beyond like everything that comes with being an artist. Credit is the number one thing. If you created something, like it's yours. It came from your head, and if people love it and enjoy it, they want to like you have to take responsibility for it. People want to know who did it, and they're going to give that person respect and credit for it. If you take that away from somebody, that's huge. It's not just about the money. The whole thing that happened, now I'm just going down a little bit of a rabbit hole. I'll bring it back, I promise. Like 5-10 years ago, there was a whole lawsuit about Stairway to Heaven. Like Led Zeppelin didn't make it. It was actually some other band that came out like 3 years before, and then Led Zeppelin stole the riff and basically just built the whole song around it.
Really?
Yeah. Led Zeppelin ended up winning the case, but imagine being that band and then Led Zeppelin gets away with one of the biggest songs of all time, and you're sitting there in your broken down fucking apartment, like that's my song. Like I would kill myself. I would literally kill myself if I wrote "Stairway to Heaven" and someone else took it and ran away with it, and their legacy is now built on my song. And so I think
crazy.
Yeah. So I think credit is number one. So if an NFT can preserve that for any artist out there, I wholeheartedly 100% back it up.
So wait, if Led Zeppelin won that case, does that mean that they actually stole it, or that the guys are full of shit?
Yeah, well, basically what the court says is the guys were full of shit. Like, they didn't actually make it. Although I did see similarities between what they created and what Led Zeppelin made. But, okay. Not to go that.
We're getting off
I
topic.
implore you all to go look this up.
Right.
It's actually a really interesting case. Also, Robin Thicke had it happen a couple years ago with Marvin Gaye's track.
Yeah, I remember
that was a big one too. So yeah, if you guys really want to like look into this, maybe we'll do an episode later. I implore you to look at both those cases. But NFTs, I think, is only going to help artists out there.
Going off course to what was it called? What was that group? The guys with the two guys with the mask that made all the like techno music back in the day. Daft Punk, yeah. They also made like they made a few songs that They made a few songs that originally were made that were other songs, but in those cases, that's considered to be sampling. So what would that, how would that be justifiable?
Well, sampling is already protected in the agency. If you sample something, you have to if you're actually making money. I think there's a certain amount. I think it's like up to 30 seconds of a sample can be used without you having. You still have to credit the original artist, but you can't like if you're making.
Did they?
I mean, I hope so. I mean, a lot of like NWA's original stuff, they were taking drum beats from actual songs that came out before, and they would have to credit it when they were making like their rap beats and stuff. But yeah, I mean, this is something that NFTs aren't going to solve everything. Like, I hate the fact that sampling is now like basically in terms of like I just ripped something off, but I don't have to credit anybody. I just sampled it, quote unquote, even though it could be the backbone of an entire song. I don't like that practice. That's up to the artist and the studio.
Well, most artists do that now. That's the issue.
Oh yeah. Well, most hack artists do that. Yeah, I'm calling you all out. If you do that, you're not real. You're not a real artist. And I would never do that. Everything I do is from the ground up. Anyway,
especially the intro.
Yeah, especially the intro. The shout out to Danny. I did
like all those covers of Drake songs you did, ground up.
But I never. Oh yeah. I mean, well, that no one's arguing covers. I never said, "Hey, this is my fucking song." I said this is a Drake cover that I put my own spin on.
You said everything I do, and I'm just
everything. All my personal music is built from the ground up without sampling. And if I ever did sample, God forbid, I would always credit the person I sampled it from.
We
Oh,
believe you. Don't worry.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, this applies to all art, like even or even science too. But I'm thinking like when you guys were having that conversation, I was thinking more of Carlos Mencia and how he made a killing off Mind of Mencia, but then Joe Rogan was the only person that was like, "Fuck you, you stole those jokes from this guy." And then, it got into a physical confrontation
I
on
remember
stage.
that.
And then, Joe Rogan, the man's an MMA fighter, so he's of course gonna step up on Carlos Mencia and be like, what the fuck are you gonna do about it? You stole those jokes. He wasn't even like trying to be a dick about it. He was just like, you stole those jokes. And I think he was willing to take a punch on behalf of every comedian that Carlos Mencia fucked over. But we don't have a lot of Joe Rogans out there. Everybody else just kind of lets it happen. And I guarantee you there's a lot of probably scientific inventions out there that, a lot of science people are so nerdy that they probably thought of something and they didn't put it out. And, whoever is better at business, they got credit because they put it out there first. Isn't that the Facebook lawsuit or what that social media movie was about?
Facebook. Oh, the Harvard case where basically Zuckerberg was building the Harvard brothers some sort of like dating application for Harvard students, and then I guess he made Facebook afterwards, and these guys came back like, yo, you stole our idea, and he's like, my idea is completely different. He won his case, right? I think he won. Did he win?
I have no idea. I don't know if he won, but I mean, he did win in life. I mean, he's still a billionaire, so I don't know if you can take that away from him.
Yeah,
like
no,
he
but
did. If he did rip someone off, then
he
yeah.
says, because they were arguing that he used their source code. He's like, my source code is completely different from yours, so that's why I don't think it held up in court.
Yeah, maybe, but yeah, well, you can't protect everybody from everything. Like tweaking an idea is, I mean, an NFT is not going to solve that. Like if like I think I've referenced this in another episode too, but like Coke comes out with I think actually our first episode, if Coke came out with their product and then like Pepsi's like, we can do that too, but there's no way of like they can make their own formula, but there's nothing that says you can't also make a cola.
Yeah.
That's I mean, that's just how it goes. You can't just say that someone can't do something just because you did it first. Unfortunately, I understand things can be ripped off really easily. Yeah, NFTs aren't going to solve that. Oh boy, we just lost Omid.
Fuck.
Technical difficulties, but it's fine. They don't have to know that. He'll probably just chime in later. I'll let him back in.
Oh, we
when
have to
can.
pause and wait.
It's fine. We'll just keep talking when Omid can come back in. I don't know if he knows that he's gone. Keep going. Power went out. I thought he had a laptop.
Actually, no. Some laptops have that kick safe that if the power goes out in a outlet, the laptop shuts down.
Okay, gotcha. All right, well, this episode's brought to you by laptops. I don't know. Well, we'll figure out what Omid's using and tell everybody not to get that.
No, better one. This episode is brought to you by PG&E. We've got you covered with power.
Oh my god, yeah. So when Omid
Can we
comes
get
back-
sued for that?
Dude, I don't know. Well, if it's slander, yeah, but if everything...
We technically are.
No, if
if
it's
we
true,
did
it's
that.
not slander. If we're saying that PG&E fucked our friend over and his power went out, it's not slander because it just happened, so...
Yeah. Not only will we supply you with gas and electricity, we'll supply you with your state fires. Burn your towns down, burn your forests. Will we reimburse you? Probably not. We'll maybe take care of you for like a month or two, but then you're on your own. Good luck fixing your house.
You're definitely not going to the Four Seasons, that's for sure.
Right?
Alright.
Motel 6 is calling, buddy.
Sorry about burning down your farm, but have a nice stay at Motel 6 for a month. We got you. Oh my god. Okay, so here he is. Here's the man himself. Omid's back.
What
Hi,
happened? What I miss?
Did you
Nothing.
call PG&E and thank them for their service?
What?
Did you call PG&E and thank them for their service?
No, it's the stupid housing. It's the fuse blew because people had too many electronics on or something.
Did you leave your vibrator plugged in?
Oh, maybe that caused it. I'll check on it later.
All right.
It's warming up.
So not to derail this entire episode, what were we talking about? So we were just agreeing with how NFTs are actually helping artists, but
And they're probably not going to solve all the issues that are going to exist with people ripping off stuff.
they won't. But they are definitely solving the biggest issue when it comes to creative arts, and that's actually crediting
Yeah.
artists and originality. Something I talked about in the very first episode, how much I fucking hate how people just rip off each other and originality is dead. I said that. Well, you can check out episode 1 here or down below. I'll put it somewhere on the screen. I have no idea. So
Put it between your legs.
they can't see my legs, and if they're not, even if they're not like if they're listening to this, they can't see anything on the screen. If they're watching this, they can't see my legs. I can't stand up. Anyway, derailing this more. So NFTs, great, love NFTs. What's the downside to it? Are there downsides to NFTs?
Well, like I said,
Right.
hyperinflation at the moment, and the fact that they're being used as stock and it's exploitive.
And I
Okay.
think they're also being used as kind of like I said before, like prestige points, where it's gonna divide the classes up even further. Because now, like, we see NFTs, I think most famously the Bapes or whatever, the Bad Apes or whatever you want to call it. I don't know what they're called. But like only very rich people and celebrities can afford them. And in owning a Bape, do you have access to all these things like clubs and, lounges and stuff like that? So we're seeing more of a divide in the classes, and I don't really like that concept, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, it's kind of reminding me of the whole entire Player One reality because if you remember in that movie, you had people, well, regular people. The world's pretty much all gone to shit because there's trash everywhere. People are living in literal trailer parks, and but they're spending their hard-earned cash on buying all this like VR shit. And then there's the hyper wealthy corporations that are able to buy all these fancy gaming chairs and they're able to live in like these huge buildings and just yeah, huge divide in society. No middle class anymore, just lower class versus upper class at that point. But my biggest issue is moving away from the NFTs aspect is the quality of life problem that will come with all this. People will my worry is that people will begin to really take their hard-earned money and putting it into this essentially video game world.
So let's just establish that you are not talking about NFTs anymore. Now you're going back to Meta or the virtual reality
Yeah,
life.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm like I said, I'm cutting off the VR, though it's called NFTs aspect now. I'm just talking about, and I'm moving into the actual VR world, and I'm worried about that because, like I said, as an example, people play. You guys know GTA 5, GTA Online. People play GTA Online for since 2013, right?
Yeah, I'm very
And
familiar with that game. I do play it.
freaking how much money does that online on that the specifically the online version of it, how much money does it generate per year? Does anybody know?
I don't, but it's a lot. You can say
It's
that much.
billions of dollars. It might have been like $7 billion for one of the years that Rockstar raked in just from the online aspect because people are going on there and buying those shark cards.
Yeah, there's an entire
And these
sub
shark
economy built in this game.
Yeah,
It's
and
kind
these
of
shark
crazy.
cards are, and it's dangerous too because I'll touch on why it's dangerous with that is because first off, again, kids and adults are taking their hard-earned cash in real life and putting it into this goddamn video game to buy all this fake shit that at the end of the day they literally get blown up, destroyed, whatever, they waste ammo, all this stuff. It disappears, it's not actually tangible. And on top of that, I don't know if you guys remember back in GTA Online they had that whole entire quote unquote crime way where hackers were giving people money in GTA Online. And so Rockstar didn't really have a way to properly track it, so they would go and like look for large booms of money appearing, and some people got hit with these like hacked bonuses of money from other hackers as like quote unquote gifts, and then Rockstar would see the spike of income and go and wipe out their bank account. But the problem was that sometimes they pulled more money than was given to them by the hacker, which means that Rockstar literally pulled actual income, like real world money, from these players that was invested into the game economy. That's dangerous. There's no real way for them to be able to tell apart what's real, what's fake, and what was, given to them versus what was actually properly bought by the player. But that's only one aspect. Like I said, that's just from economy aspect. And people spending their hard-earned money onto something that's not really tangible has no real benefit to your life. Aside from that, from a psychological standpoint, people are going to be plugging themselves in like the Matrix in this world right now. Of course, obviously the metaverse is absolute garbage in my opinion. It's not, it doesn't look realistic. It looks like a freaking seventh grader drew your surroundings as you're walking around. It's cool to wear a helmet and feel like you're moving around, And obviously, even though the tech is starting to develop slowly, it's not that advanced because you will not have that, high quality VR available quite yet. Where you can, for instance, if you're wearing the VR and you're walking around and you see something in front of you, you can you'll be able to automatically tell how far it is. We haven't cracked that kind of technology yet. So certain things will vary at the same time when you're walking around. You have two options for walking around in the NFT in the metaverse. Either use a joystick on your thumb or again one of those walking pads they sell now. Anybody know what I'm talking about? It's kind of like a treadmill that you walk in place.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like Ready Player One.
Yeah, exactly. So you can buy that. I mean, the tech is coming at a very slow rate. I mean, or you can argue we've exploded in our technology in the last 100 years, but it's not there. It'll get there eventually, I'm sure. But yeah, it's crazy to me because how much people are right now beginning to invest into all this stuff. And again, psychologically, I feel like it's becoming an escape for people from reality. A lot of people have to deal with depression in the real world, whether it's financial, whether it's interactions with other people, whether it's just, overall mental health. I feel like this VR crap is slowly consuming people into living in this world where they're essentially able to be what they want to be without actually being so and escaping their problems. And I think that's dangerous. I think that it's gonna create a real rift from reality for a lot of people. And when they get out of it, like they had Logan Paul, he was talking about the metaverse in one of his episodes, and he was like, "Yeah, honest to God, when he said like when I was in the metaverse and I got out, I felt really shitty because he's like I was having so much fun in this VR world, and then I came back to reality."
Oh yeah, it's super depressed reality. I'm
I'm
sure.
sure
Yeah.
no, no. Hey, look, everybody has. Keep in mind what you can do in the metaverse, you can't do in real life. In the metaverse, you can probably jump around like a goddamn superhero and fly around too. You can't do that in the real world.
Okay, well, what? Why would the metaverse be? Why is this being pinpointed as like a bad thing when escapism has been around for ages? Like whether you play an actual video game screen, not
I think
around
it's
on
the
a
degree.
headset.
I think it's the degree of it.
Well, you said it yourself. The fucking actual world when you put the headset on is just like it looks stupid. It's not like up to date. The graphics aren't there.
Of course,
I think
but
there's
you're still in there.
Yeah, but you're also in there when you have a video game on. You're playing GTA. Same thing. You don't have a headset on or like you don't have a visual. But
Wait till they make a GTA VR.
Yeah, I'm sure it's gonna be crazy. But for now, people are losing themselves into a video game that's just on a 2D surface and you play with a controller. That's been
People are also losing themselves in LSD, heroin, a lot of things.
yeah, different forms of
Escapism's
escapism.
here.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, it's
it-
all there, but I can see the issues with the virtual world where I agree with you, Vlad, and I do see it as more of an escape from reality, but I can also see it as the bigger problem is when, and I hope people get offended when I say this, but it's usually the losers in society that may feel more drawn to this world because I feel like whatever disadvantage they think they may have had in the real world, they might invest everything in this virtual world where they can do practically whatever they wanted and almost without effort, which is essentially how they probably got to where they are now without effort. And I think that's the biggest scare is that, like you said, I don't see a problem with how people spend their money. I couldn't give less of a shit. If you want to spend your money on buying a rake in Farmville, by all means, like you earned it, you do what you want with it. It's just really sad when you see society devolving into this world where they aren't actually taking care of their physical body that actually matters, but instead taking care of their, you can call it a virtual body, you can call it, and essentially your soul is going into that game, whatever you can define a soul as, but your mentality is shifted into this other body, and if you like that life more, kudos to you. But if you're not doing everything in your power to make your real life as fun and amazing as that virtual life, I feel like you're just a loser in this world altogether.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and that's a very serious. That's a very good point.
Yeah. Those are the same fuckers that probably want socialism because they're losers in the world and they want everything to be even because they can't win for shit.
True. With going off what you just said and actually relating it to Ready Player One, the end of the movie. If you haven't seen it, I'm about to spoil it for you. So
I don't care.
Well, I'm saying for everyone out there, not honestly.
Oh, I don't matter,
yeah.
Jenny.
I don't.
That's
I mean,
fine.
it's not. You're not really missing out on much. It's a decent movie. It's just more of a fucking just reference circle jerk. But so like the end of the movie, the like one of the main guys who put the fucking virtual world together, he comes back as like a ghost in the machine. So he like kind of exists still, even though he's dead in the real world. And he says this one line that kind of resonates, and I think it brings the point home of the entire film. He says like it's like I had to like the the real world is the only place where I can get a decent meal, which is basically like at the end of the day, no matter what you do in the virtual world, you still have to like come back to reality at some point to do basic, to just be a human, to exist here in the real world. Unless one day they just hyperjack you in and basically turn you into some Matrix person where you're just fed and you exist as a battery. But
the thing is, the way I'm seeing it though is that you almost don't have to, unless you're gonna go to sleep. But it sounds like you can just live your life in that virtual world and stay in there for as long as you want. Once NFTs or cryptocurrency becomes a thing, you're trading currency within this virtual world, so you don't have to go out and get a job if you're mining Bitcoin or you're earning some kind of income in the game with your NFTs or something. I think the bigger problem is that you don't need to leave the game.
Yeah. Speaking of which, did you hear McDonald's has now opened up a virtual VR restaurant where you can walk into McDonald's, order there, and they will bring you the food to your apartment and or household.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
There you go. That's
I
pretty
don't
cool.
understand. So like, it's not enough to open up an app. Now you have to like jump into a fake world to go to.
Well, you can walk into the restaurant. You can walk into McDonald's in the VR world.
Okay, so now that's where you start bordering on what is dystopian to me. You're basically confining reality to this fake reality. You're creating a counterpart that people want to go. Yeah, this is what I'm afraid of. This is what I don't like about this.
And what if we have like? Did you ever play Assassin's Creed? You remember that game?
Yes, I remember Assassin's Creed. Yeah.
What if you have like some sort of like bleeding effect that it had like in Assassin's Creed, where you spend too much time in the virtual world and your brain starts to like lose consciousness of the real world, and when you get out, there's like some sort of like actual health issues that start occurring psychologically or physically in the brain.
I'm sure there's going to be psychological issues with somebody who's trapped, wants to live only in a virtual realm.
Do you guys mind if I go on a tangent on that real quick? Like,
Go
it's not
for
a big
it.
tangent.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But I mean, while we close out this first part, what really concerns me is that when you look at the generation today, especially that was born in COVID, and now these kids that are going in school within the COVID world, you're seeing a generation of kids that are already in the iPad world, so they don't connect with the world around them as is. So can you see this market actually blowing up for this generation specifically, because they are already so disconnected from reality that for them, giving them an escape from this real reality that is essentially shit and the only social interactions they know being virtual, I can see this becoming a crutch for a lot of people socially, and that's scary to me.
Yeah.
You know that they did a study in schools of kids that still wear masks even though the mandates are done and you don't have to. And about 1% of students that still wore the teacher straight up asked them in confidentiality, 1% of them, hey, why are you still wearing your mask? 1% said, I'm afraid of getting other people sick. Another 1% said, my parents made me. 70% of the kids still wear masks in the class, and I shit you not, it is because they're afraid of being judged, because they have some kind of insecurity that the mask will cover up, kind of like back in the day when kids wore baggy sweaters to cover up if they were getting fat. Masks are a whole new level of hiding yourself from the rest of the world because you have some kind of insecurity from them. And I think this virtual reality is going to blow up this problem.
Wow.
I agree with you, and I will back the fact that like with work, when people walk into the store, we don't have, if you're shopping, you don't have to wear a mask. Only employees do. But they walk in, they don't have a mask, and they'll ask like, do you have an extra mask? And we're kind of like, yeah, but you don't need a mask. They're like, oh, but we want one.
Okay, so we're gonna take a break here because there's a lot to unpack, and my God, we are gonna go down that rabbit hole. I guarantee it. So when we come back, we're gonna unpack all this, talk about the virtual world, what it means to society, and basically just rip it a new one. So stay tuned. See you in a minute. Does This Offend You is absolutely, definitely, and undoubtedly brought to you by this 100% totally real sponsor.
This week's episode is brought to you by donuts. Um, Danny and I had the pleasure of trying both Krispy Kreme and I don't know if I should call them Dunkin' or Dunkin' Donuts, but I'm gonna call them Dunkin' Donuts because it's very relevant. Both of them brought out during the Super Bowl these heart-shaped donuts that were filled with some kind of very, very, very sugary filling. And I felt it was necessary to buy literally every single one and try each and every one and do kind of like a comparison. And I have my opinions on which donuts are better. Danny has his, and I think we can share our opinions.
Yeah, Krispy Kreme and Dunkin' Donuts, a tale as old as time, rivals to the bitter end. I'm gonna say out of the lot. So, do you even remember what we tried? Like what the flavors were for each donut?
100%.
Okay,
I
go
do.
ahead, break it down, because I'll tell you which one I like the
So
most.
Krispy Kreme had a Bavarian cream donut, and they had the Bavarian cream filled, and then they had another donut that had a chocolate icing, and it had chocolate brownie batter filling. So those are their only two donuts. Krispy Kreme, I believe, had four donuts. They had a strawberry filled one, a cream filled one, a cake batter filled one, and a cookies and cream or something like that, like a chocolatey cookies and cream one.
Yeah, it was like the cookies and cream chocolate,
Yeah.
which isn't like anything new. They just put it in a heart shape.
Yeah, they just put it in a heart-shaped
Yeah.
donut with white frosting. But you can go first. You
Okay.
can share.
Straight from the top, dude. Dunkin' Donuts is the winner for me. That Bavarian cream filled one was freaking phenomenal, and that was the first one I tried, and I don't know if it was like the diabetes gripping my tongue by the end of it, but like when I was finished with the Krispy Kreme ones afterwards, it they didn't do it for me as much. I was surprised because the strawberry filled ones I had last year, they brought back, they were really good, but that Bavarian cream would kick my ass, dude. The Dunkin' Donuts came out swinging with that Bavarian cream one. I absolutely loved it. Also, I'd like to say that you associated all these heart-shaped donuts with the Super Bowl, but clearly
It was just coincidental.
Yes.
Because the Super Bowl was like the day before Valentine's Day.
I mean, I do love football. I don't know if I'm holding a napkin. I do love football. Yeah, if that's what we're going. Yeah, you can see this hat. We'll get to the hat later. Anyway, that was my favorite. Straight up. Dunkin' Donuts won it for me. Bavarian cream.
For me, I think my favorite was the cookies and cream filled one from Krispy Kreme. And I will say this right off the bat, just donut to donut, Krispy Kreme kicks ass when it comes to almost any donut competition. I think Krispy Kreme kicks Dunkin' Donuts ass so hard that they removed the Dunkin' from their name in shame. The
donut yeah,
part,
they removed the donut.
but they kept the Dunkin'.
It's true.
Because I feel like they were like, fuck it. Instead of competing with Krispy Kreme, let's compete with Starbucks because we sell coffee too. And their coffee is pretty big in the East Coast. I didn't really realize this until later, but relative to here, they kick ass in the coffee world, and I've tried their coffee. It's pretty damn good. But their donuts usually don't live up. But what I will say, of all the donuts I've tried from Dunkin' Donuts, purely out of novelty, these two heart-shaped donuts were different. The Bavarian cream one was really damn good, and because Dunkin' Donuts doesn't even do a Bavarian cream, the closest thing they do is custard. But then the other thing that they had was instead of putting like a chocolate cream mousse kind of filling, the brownie batter was amazing. Even though it looked like it was shooting diarrhea and our fingers looked like we just ate some ass.
I got that one
like
all over
some
my
quality-
hands.
It was
Yeah, it's
everywhere.
terrible.
But it was delicious.
It was good. Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Like-
are we doing an ad or are we talking about diarrhea and donuts?
We're doing a
Sometimes they go
peer,
hand in hand.
a peer review.
Yeah.
All right.
Sometimes
Here-
diarrhea
I
and
thought it was an
donuts.
ad. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, well,
This
it's
is-
it's a review ad. It's like an endorsement, sort of. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Krispy Kreme and
Anyway.
Dunkin' give us money.
Yeah.
We'll keep talking until you know what. We're not
Anybody-
gonna stop talking until you do. Nah. Okay. I don't know. So you think Dunkin' won this round?
I think Dunkin' won this round, and I'm gonna give it to Dunkin' because I'm putting it as Ty goes to the runner. I think Krispy Kreme won this one. Ty goes to the runner because I like their donut more, but also I just think they have a better base of a donut altogether. relative to Duncan.
I think Krispy
So
Kreme wins the war, but this battle I give to Duncan. Oh my god,
I can give that to
donut
yeah.
was like Bavarian. I didn't even know Bavarian cream was a thing, but now I want to go to Europe and try to see if I can find it. I don't know.
Have you ever had what is it, a Boston
Yeah, the
cream
Boston
donut?
cream. I've had that before.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
okay.
That I think that's supposed to have Bavarian cream in it, not like
It wasn't the same. This donut was
it
something else, man. Yeah.
might
Anyway,
have been the pink frosting.
yeah, that pink frosting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. It had nothing to do with the cream.
People eat with their eyes
That's
first.
true. I do
Yeah.
like them pink.
Yeah. Anyway.
What the fuck are you guys talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, anyway.
Okay. All right. So.
Vaginas!
All right. Anyway, so what were we talking about? The virtual world. Yeah, I don't want to.
Virtual world. We ended off with my point on kids in the this now generation
Yeah.
being very dependent on this world to be social.
True.
Like this is gonna be their lives.
And that's also what drives me nuts with all this NFT involvement and all this VR. I'm like, we're literally actively investing and helping evolve this future endeavor that's going to turn into the next technological breakthrough of screwing up society. We're going to be creating a world where kids are going to be depressed, hiding away in this virtual VR world where, yeah, they won't be able to interact with people properly. Kind of how I was bitching about the dating apps. I'm telling you, like, it's going to be the same thing here. People are going to be hanging out with their friends in this VR world, going out on dates in this VR world.
Would you say that this was a smooth transition though? Because I feel like old heads too would say, "Oh, like video games will never be a sport. Stop wasting your time." And all of a sudden, esports became like the biggest sports. Even ESPN had to air the League of Legends championships
I've
or whatever.
never been able to get into it.
I don't care if you were able to get into it. I'm just saying that this is where we've been seeing this transition for a minute now.
No, I know, and I get that part, but I'm saying, like, for instance, in regards to League of Legends, I know only, like, besides Danny and Steve, not many other people have been really. There are a few people that I know that do delve into League of Legends. I haven't personally witnessed it to be like a huge impact. The fact that it's becoming such a big thing on ESPN covering it, for me, it's more of like they're making money. It's sponsorship. That's how I kind of view it. I wouldn't really. For me,
But you see, like back in the day, if you wanted to make money off of a sport or anything that wasn't a 9 to 5, you played basketball, football, whatever. Like that's what you did to get your mama out of the ghetto and bought her a house with your first paycheck. We've all heard those stories. Nowadays, you can do the same shit with video games. And I have friends that compete in Smash. I have friends that compete in even Marvel vs. Capcom. Like games that we played when we were younger have become professional. And you can see that like people say, oh, it's not a sport because you're not physically using your body or whatever. You can make the same argument for the virtual reality world, or oh, it's not a real life because you're not physically in it. But
you're subconsciously in.
Yeah, but once you're making a living off of it, in a way, you can make the argument that it is someone's lifestyle and it's just the future of how things work now.
Unless you're planning to become a freaking brain in a jar at some point. I mean, I could imagine if you're constantly in that freaking VR world, your physical body's going to start to fail. Like, at an increased rate, too.
Right. But it's not. I'm not to paint a dark picture or anything. But if everybody on this planet goes to the virtual world, then maybe that's just an agreed upon place to make things happen. What if we just gave up entirely on the physical realm?
Well, that's what I'm saying. You guys all we plan to become freaking brains in jars at some point, like Futurama or whatever, freaking Fallout New Vegas, and live our ways through the Matrix and all that stuff. I mean,
the question is though, I think the problem is though, the only way that the whole world will get invested into that world is if there was a stronger incentivization to be in the virtual world relative to the real world.
Do you feel like there's not a big investment movement right now?
I don't give a shit about the investment. I'm talking about in general, like, is there an incentive, not invested, incentive to being in the virtual world over your real world, right? Maybe the virtual world is you can send grandma there and she's conscious enough to control her body in the virtual world and you can hang out with grandma all day, but if you come back to the real world, she's a fucking vegetable. Whatever. That's what it is. But there is a possibility that, They can create incentivized programs for if you spend 9 hours a day in the virtual world, you'll earn $10 or something. Like there's just so many different ways that either companies start investing in putting fun things in their virtual world and take them out of the real world to the point where the real world has nothing going on and the virtual world has everything going on. You could see that shift happening, especially because it's so much easier to do things virtually.
But do you
Most
think that's a
call
good thing?
I don't know if it's a good thing or bad thing, but I am saying that this is the trend. It's not a good thing at all in my opinion. Even the fact that colleges are almost obsolete with Zoom. Unless you're doing something that actually is hands-on, every lecture can be recorded on Zoom. You don't even have to go to lecture. You can just see a pre-recorded lecture and you're done. You can learn anything you want over the internet by now.
Okay, so I'll say this. This is kind of a stance that you had with dating apps beforehand last episode. As a tool, there is, of course, anything can be argued this way. Anything can be a good tool. Anything that has benefits as a tool.
Yeah.
You ever seen that? You ever seen that show, The Good Doctor?
No.
It's a TV show right now. I recommend it. It's basically about residential student in San Jose Medical Center, and he has autism, and he's a surgeon. Anyway, one of the episodes they have to try to do surgery on this kid from Africa's heart that's been like huge birth defect, and uh two surgeons go into the room and they put on VR headsets and they try to basically recreate this kid's heart in VR, and they try to basically run this simulated operation on with specific diagnostics of what they thought would have to be done, how the tissue would be, all this stuff, and make it work. After a few attempts, they got it to work, so they had like a structural idea what they need to do. When they actually went into surgery, they realized that the cellular walls of the heart were a bit weaker, so they had to slightly tweak their calculations, but they managed to successfully save the kid's life. Could that have been done without a VR headset and their program running all of the attempts that they had to run to get it done? I get it's a TV show, yes. I mean, probably not, because the degree of damage that that kid's heart had in that show was immense, and they had to literally like pull some like Houdini shit to really get it figured out. And VR helped with that, and I'm sure that could possibly also be accumulated to being used in real world in very difficult situations for difficult surgeries. So yeah, in that case, like I said, as a tool specifically for that kind of scenario, I could see it working out. But that's a very, isolated type of scenario. My question is, of course, again, it ties back to, are we okay with this kind of like huge uplift of investment and human society activity in trying to develop all this NFT crap and all this like trying to create these uh all this extra land to put into the VR world, and having all these buildings put into the and just all this stuff. Is it a good thing that we're investing so heavily into it?
I will. Okay, my opinion on the metaverse, virtual reality world, whatever, is I'm against it. I'm on you. I'm with you on this one. I'm against it. I do see the utility in it. I'm against it. I don't like it. The same way I'm not for esports being considered real sports. You can argue that reaction time and whatever is considered like a skill. I don't give a shit. I think sports were meant to demonstrate, what back in the day was considered gladiators, warriors, and pastime when there was no like wars to be fought. This is how your, warriors kept in shape. I just think it's a bastardization and it's pretty much weakening society in a way. I think society is getting weaker because of it, and I don't like that. Now I might be biased because I spend a lot of time, working on my physical body and trying to be the best person that I could possibly be in the real world. And I just, like I mentioned before, it's all the losers, all the weak people in the world are gonna gravitate towards this easy way out, and I
Yeah.
think that's stupid. It's
It's the lax
weak.
alternative.
It's their first alternative. They're jumping on it the moment they can because they couldn't do the first alternative, which was actually do something. Diet, you know, sacrifice something in your life, whether it be your time or your food, to be healthy and be a better human being. They couldn't do that. And now this is gonna be their out. It's no different from people that aren't doing what they want, work wise successfully. You know, I worked my ass off to be where I am today. It's unimportant where I am, but I'm very happy with that because it's exactly what I wanted. But I worked my fucking ass off to be here. And anybody who just has things handed to them, fine. You know, good for you. I don't give a shit. But anybody who doesn't have shit handed to them and they want to bitch and moan and ask for shit like socialism because they think the world is unfair, go fuck yourself. You're a loser in this world. You're the same motherfucker that's going to be in the virtual world. And I think it's stupid. I think it's weak. That's my opinion. But again, I see the utility in it. But this time, I agree with you, Vlad. It's bad. It's bad. You're only feeding. This is the one thing that actually feeds people's bad habits and is going to make society worse in the long run.
Okay.
Yeah, it worries me.
If I might interject here, I am going to be the voice of dissent, if only to create that voice, because I do agree. I don't think this is a good thing at all. But I'm going to say this. I'm gonna open this up I brought this up earlier, the Matrix. So if we are headed to this world where basically it's not real, everyone's kind of in this fake world now. Let me ask you this. If you were Cypher in that movie, the guy who basically betrayed everyone, all right?
Which movie?
The Matrix.
Freaking Matrix.
The Matrix. Yeah. This whole entire episode can be
fuck.
chalked up to a concept that was created in 1999 called The Matrix. If you haven't seen it yet, if you're too young to remember this movie, I urge you to go watch it. Maybe
Don't watch the new one. It sucks ass.
Don't watch it. Absolutely don't watch the new one. But watch the first one in 1999. It brings up a lot of the concepts we're talking about now, the future we're headed towards, and what could be the new reality. What I will say about The Matrix is that Cypher in that film, he was supposed to represent the group of people that we're talking about now. People who are fine going to the virtual world and they're cool leaving the real world behind, because guess what? The virtual world is better.
There's no problems.
And that is the important takeaway from all this. If you were to put yourself in a virtual world, you can be anything you want, do anything you want, and there are no repercussions. Everything is good. There's no blowback. So why wouldn't you take that? My question, why wouldn't you want to sit in a restaurant, eat a delicious piece of steak, gain no weight from it, walk away, just fly up in the fucking sky, touch the sun, come back down, and fucking have sex with all the beautiful women in red dresses that you want on a daily basis, and do that continually, repeatedly, have your fill, and have no
Because
issues.
no effort.
No one's arguing that it takes no effort. I'm saying, why wouldn't you take that way out?
Because it's no effort.
So you want to go through all the effort. You want to do all
Listen,
that.
nothing in life is free.
It's
Nothing in
not life.
is easy.
It's the fucking Matrix. It's not real.
I know.
Why
Like I
wouldn't you
said,
plug your Vlad? I'm
because
asking you.
It'll make you lazy.
Red pill, blue pill. There's no real world anymore. Vlad is what I'm saying. If you were to jack yourself in and then jack yourself off while you're in, like, you can do that, and you don't have to ever come back to the real world. You can remain a battery and never
Because if I'm
experience
gonna be-
reality
if I'm in
ever
that-
again.
If I'm in that battery world, at the end of the day, though, you have to understand that I don't get to have the capability to make my own choice. I don't get to have the ability to
No, but you
plug
do.
myself.
That's what I'm saying is, you can live in this perfect world and do whatever the fuck you want with no consequence. Why wouldn't you take that is my question to either of you.
Because-
No, I agree with you, Danny. If you don't know of any other alternative, then this sounds fucking amazing. Or again, like, if your life wasn't too great to begin with, this sounds amazing.
That's all I'm saying. So if the entire civilized world heads this direction, I would not be surprised. Now, I'm going to counteract this argument. I'm going to destroy the fucking Matrix movie as a whole. Cypher did something that no one would pass up in the right mind. Having a perfect world, do whatever the fuck you want, and do any... Like, what would you do if you were to play God to yourself? Just do whatever the fuck you want. Honestly, think about it. Imagine that world. Amazing, right?
You'd probably get bored.
Okay, boredom's number one. Here's my second part to that. If you ever heard this phrase before, raise your hand out there. Raise your hand in here. If everybody is special, then no one is special.
Yeah, I've heard that.
If you're living in a perfect world where everyone gets to do whatever the fuck they want perfectly, then there's nothing. It basically it's like a negative equation. Fucking it's a giant heap of fucking emptiness where everyone's doing it and no one's ever had to work for it. And like you can't, no one, and then you lose respect for each individual because everyone else is doing the same thing you are. It's like, oh, today I'm the president. And guess what? I'm the president too. I have $1 billion. I have $1 billion too. I fucked this bitch last night. I fucked the same bitch last night too. Like, if everyone has the capability to do everything within their right fucking imagination and be all powerful and almighty, that means there's no joy to life anymore. There's nothing left.
Yeah.
It's gone.
And you'd be bored.
Sure, you'd be bored, but you lose interest. Like everything.
No. I'm pressing on the boredom
I get it, yeah.
specifically.
You would be
because
bored.
of the fact that like misery in life keeps things interesting. Like the bad things that happen make life interesting because then you go on your journey to overcome these bad experiences.
Well, yeah, I think there is also another philosophical point that ties into that, where I think, a lot of people think that the antithesis of, pain is pleasure, when in reality, I think the antithesis of pleasure is actually comfort. Because I think when it comes to pleasure, it comes with a lot of pain to get there. Pleasure is essentially the absence of pain. You work your ass off for something and you gain pleasure in seeing the fruits of your work, versus someone who's comfortable, they're pretty much not doing anything and they're chilling and their life is passing by them. And I think there's a very big distinction. It's no different from people who say that like the opposite of love is indifference. Because, with love comes hate. It's a very strong emotion. It's strong passion. And indifference is the absence of that altogether. With indifference, it's just, there's no point to anything. So, same thing comes here.
It's true. It's a new type of misery that you've created. Basically, I don't know. It's a void. It becomes a void, and there's no such thing. Also, you lose concepts like greatness. Greatness doesn't exist in the virtual world, because no one's ever had to build to get there. If everyone's exactly the same and everyone's great, then there is no greatness. You lose concepts like that.
Perfect communist utopia, baby.
It's communism. Yeah. You lose legend status. Like people who do work, like bring it back to the real world. In the real world, where things have to be earned, then you realize, you start to remember the people who actually like made this life special. Yeah, we talked about Kobe Bryant 2 episodes ago. Like Kobe Bryant wouldn't be Kobe Bryant without having to work hard and go beyond. I really don't want to have to bring this guy up every episode. I'm just kind of bringing it back a little bit, but he's
not going to be coming up for a while. He's in the ground.
Yeah, all I'm saying is you remember
last time he was really high up there.
Fuck you.
Too soon.
Oh my god. All I'm saying is, okay, whoever you idolize in this life, they wouldn't be your idols without having to do something to make them that way, which is work hard and overcome and do something spectacular and become spectacular. That concept gets lost in a world where anyone can do that whenever they want.
This
you
reminds
have to
me
earn
of a
it.
Conversation.
Yeah.
This reminds me of a conversation I had with a rabbi a while ago, and we were basically talking about like, hey man, like if God is real, why doesn't he just present himself? Why am I going to follow all these rules that he put forth to us if I can't even prove he's real? How am I just wasting my time? I'm not enjoying my life to the fullest, trying to please this entity. And the rabbi said something fairly profound to me, and I took it to heart. He said, let's just imagine that God presented him to the world and we know he exists for sure. And now that we have the rule book to essentially, as they say, go to heaven, everybody would just be doing it without thinking twice. So the real difference between what in religion is considered good and evil, or following the rules and not following the rules, comes with that sense of faith and doing it because you want to believe or please this high, like almighty entity, whether or not you know they exist. Because again, if you knew they existed, these things wouldn't be like choices. It would just be law, right?
You can still go against the law.
You can still go against the law, but what's the point of it? Because now you know that there's this higher power in the world.
How do you know? How do you know he's going to be? But how do you know? You might have seen him, and you might know he's there. But be like, how do you know he's not going to try to screw you over when you get to that point of death? There's always going to be somebody that can, at any point, question it.
We're not talking about a human being. We're talking about the Almighty God. You can picture it however you want, but the concept of the God is that this is the creator of the universe, and it is your ticket to heaven. That's the only thing that, but I'm just trying to tie it into the idea that if you looked at these rules in life as laws and you knew God existed and you did all these things, then there would be no point because you didn't. There would be no point to having free will because these things aren't choices anymore. They're just how to live life. Versus if it's a choice, that's what makes it the difference between good and evil because you have the choice to either do what you're supposed to do or not do what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is not like your boss at Costco that if you don't follow the rules, he can fire you, or if you follow the rules, he'll be like, haha, you dumbass. Now you're working overtime, I'm not gonna pay you extra. This is just straight up like this is the rules, and if you follow them, you're going straight to heaven. Totally different. But like, yeah, no, that kind of reminds me of that concept where you're right, like if everybody was special, if everybody got to do everything they wanted to do, then there is no special. Then everybody's just
It's communism.
normal. Yeah,
Sure.
it's communism.
That's one way of putting it. Yeah.
I know it is,
Yeah.
and especially if you remove the whole entire necessity for money, because communism says there should not be any actual like currency trade, and everything's for free, and everything's accessible. It's communism. That's the simple thing. Everybody's the same. Everything's accessible. Do what you want. Go crazy. Go live your life. There you go.
Yeah.
That's communism.
Yeah.
So
There
the nut.
there are things that can only exist in the real physical world and that you can't replicate in the virtual one.
Like what?
Like I said, like something like this, like being great, achieving something, actually achieving something, not just having
Why
it
you
delivered
can
to
achieve
you.
something. You've heard of League of Legends and any other video game. You can be the best COD player in the virtual world.
No,
You achieve even in Ready Player One. The
You
main
can-
character achieves the game by beating it.
You
First
can
one.
achieve, Danny. I know where you're going,
Mhm.
but I want to see if you can actually like back up what you're saying right now. Back it up. What can you do and what can't you do in the virtual world that you can do in the real world? And don't say love because if Joaquin Phoenix's Her taught us anything, you can fall in
No.
love with AI.
I'm just saying that if a fake world can be built, why can't fake success be built? It's like
It can be.
can.
Yeah.
I'm
can.
I'm saying and just deliver too. It's I'm just
Well, that's the whole point.
Yeah, I'm harking on all that Matrix bullshit I talked about, like how everyone can just do whatever they want. Like
Yeah.
what happens? So when like if everyone can just have like we Omid and I like to work out and like keep our bodies in shape. What happens if you just like flip a switch and like now I'm a bodybuilder, now I'm super jacked? Like you lose all that in the virtual in a realm. What if it can be coded into your life? And things can be just
Yeah.
handed to you, then yeah, you lose what is called achievement. Like it's not an achievement anymore. It's
I
just
mean,
I get
like
this
I said,
now.
with Ready Player One, you can still achieve by beating the game like he did. My issue
If
is
you
like I said,
acknowledge the fact that it's a game. I'm talking about
Yeah.
like virtual world. Like now your reality is being
But, like,
replicated. Is
if
what
you
I'm
play
saying.
a game in the
Yeah.
virtual world, you're still playing a game in the virtual world.
Can we actually distinguish anything that you can have in the real world that you can't have in the virtual world?
Food.
'Cause I can only think of one thing,
Food.
genuinely. There's food.
I mean
But I think
actual
that-
nutritional value.
I
Like
think-
would
I
your
think
body
actual-
die?
Yeah, there you go. It's your body. I think that's the only, and that body, like if you let it rot, your virtual world is not gonna last you a long time if your actual body is rotting away. Right?
You can be a brain in a jar, sir.
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet. Now we talk about like this as we exist right now, not the Matrix,
Yeah,
not the
'cause
Matrix
your
future, just like right now. Like because I don't.
Yeah,
We're
but
not.
also
there yet.
those brains in
Yeah.
the jar thing, it's pretty like primitive because they're finding that their brain by itself doesn't actually have the mind in it or your soul in it or whatever you want to consider is that soul or your self identity. But your
Well, I'm an
self identity.
asshole, and I don't have my asshole in it, so yeah.
Well, you know, when you were as a deuterostome, you started off as an asshole and you still
Nice.
you didn't grow.
Nice.
Yeah. So anyway, where was I going with that? Thanks for derailing me.
You were talking about having a body, and it will not hold up if you're in the virtual reality world.
Yeah, I was going somewhere with that though, and hold on, I'll think about it. But essentially, like in your body in the real world needs to be maintained because here we go, if you are stuck in that virtual world, your virtual world will also end soon too. So you have to do something to take care of your physical body,
Mhm.
I think, and that'll just rot away. But again, like you don't have your senses, you don't have the sense of taste in the virtual world yet. Oh, also, we were talking about the brains in the jars. That also is not possible because apparently your mind or your soul or whatever you see as yourself is not tied to the brain alone, but they're thinking it has something to do with the connection of the heart to the brain. Because
Well,
it
make
is
two
the,
jars, motherfucker. One for the heart, one for the brain.
yeah, that just takes up too much space. And I'll
Okay.
just have a body.
Well, can we just talk about how technology exists right now? Like,
Can I touch on one thing though?
No,
Actually, what was it? Fuck, what
you
was I
can't
gonna
touch
say?
it.
Oh my god.
Nah, it doesn't feel good, does it, motherfucker?
It's
Yeah,
Does
yeah,
it?
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like I
shut
said.
up.
It's like I said earlier. It's like Halliday said. The reality is real. It's the only place where you can get a decent meal. You have to come back
Yeah.
eventually. Right now, as life exists right now, technology isn't there yet. You have to come back.
But can
Oh,
you?
Feel
senses.
yourself
That's what I was
to
gonna bring up.
exist.
Yeah.
So with senses, how you touched on that, you can't feel anything. Actually, pretty soon you will, because for instance, they're trying to create. So I don't know if you've seen the new full body outfits that they've been making and releasing. Now they're releasing vests. Like if you're playing, let's say, I don't know, fucking COD in the virtual reality world, if you get shot, you can wear this vest that puffs up and like basically hits your chest, so you feel like you're being hit by bullets. And they're essentially, I mean, they're coming up with the tech slowly, more or less, that will probably shock your body to send some sort of sense through certain parts of the actual vessel to make you feel like you're actually touching something and whatnot.
Yeah, that is a very, very complicated sensation. I'd be impressed if they can pull it off, but the
Yeah.
amount of nerves that you have running through the different types of nerves that you have running through your hands to just sense vibration versus cold versus
Actually, there's another
texture.
one. There's another one. There's a Japanese company that made a cup that you put water in it, and it'll change the cup will have a light inside, which can change colors. As you drink the water, and depending on the color that it's on, your tongue gets shocked by the cup, uh, stimulating the idea that you're drinking flavored water, whether it's strawberry, orange juice, or something else.
That's cool. Only Japan. Like
Mm.
I
They're getting there slowly. Like I said, they're coming up with a tech.
yeah, I know we're
get
headed
there.
there, but I
So then what do
yeah.
we do about offspring?
Kill them.
So that's it.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, either the generation ends at that point where everybody is invested only in their virtual love life and
Test tube babies.
creating virtual babies. Oh, you can do test tube babies, but that still involves going out into
Yeah,
the real
you-
world and
Thank
having
you.
to
Jack
jerk
off in
off.
the cup, bro.
You still have to
Yeah.
do stuff in the real world.
you have to
yeah.
learn how to jack off.
Buy one of those horse semen catchers, whatever the fuck it is.
What?
Yeah, but
What?
somebody has to be in the real world.
What if you can't even get it up in the real world anymore? It's like nothing stimulates you. I don't know. If you're stuck in a chair all day.
There's
That
there's
is
Viagra.
one of the dude. That is one of the biggest what is it, complaints when it comes to porn. How it like
Yeah.
changes the expectations of sex for a bunch of young adults. So now like young adults that are just coming into puberty and prepubescence or whatever are looking at sex as if you have to do all those things that you see in porn.
I
Yeah.
mean, you do.
That's
Don't be a
that's a
pussy.
real thing. We could have a whole episode on porn addiction. Actually, I would love to do that. That'd be great. Porn and porn addiction. That'd be
I
awesome.
think you should bring Steve on for that one.
Oh my god, no.
Can you imagine that conversation?
No, I don't want to hear that.
He has a mic.
Yeah.
He has a
One-
mic already.
One of these days,
And
these-
he has big ass forearms.
that's true. Yeah. One of these days, these people will meet the legend called Steve. I think we bring him up every episode, almost as much as Kobe Bryant.
Can we have a roast of Steve now?
Yeah.
At some
no.
point.
Yeah, I'm offended every time you say bring up Kobe Bryant because
You physically can't bring up Kobe Bryant.
because the last time he physically went up,
Yeah,
he came back down.
it's true.
Danny, you were at Steve's birthday that one time when we had the roast on him, right?
I believe it. It was at the.
Remember
Yeah.
remember when Serge went after him on the roast and the
Oh
and
yeah,
Steve's
I
girlfriend
remember
almost
that.
murdered?
Yeah, I remember that. God, okay, we gotta watch what we say now because we're in a public forum. He'll watch this and he'll march his ass 3,000 miles from Florida to kick our asses. He can't.
Bring it.
He doesn't have the cardio for it.
Bring
but-
it.
From what I
Yeah.
understand, his girlfriend will pull his leash.
Yeah.
So he can't get far.
That's
Exactly.
true. That's
there you
true.
go.
Oh god.
End of
Okay.
story.
All right. How do you guys feel about this episode? Have we touched on enough, or do you have more to say?
I mean, I think yeah, we're pretty good.
Yeah. Oh my god. Okay. Before we
Overall, I think that this is not going to be this is going to end well, and I think that people who are exploiting it and making money off of it are just going to make this process go a lot faster, and then basically we're investing the downfall of the next generations.
God, I hope Keanu Reeves lives long enough to see the reality of the movie he produced or helped make in 1999.
Or Cyberpunk.
Yeah, I feel like, oh god, no. I feel like we're headed there. No, I don't like it. I think everyone here, the census is this. It sucks, dude. Just live in the real world, man. Come on, kids, wake up. I hope there's hope. I really hope there is hope out there. I don't know what to tell you.
I hope there is hope too, but it's not only is it our generation that's creating this virtual world, but I think our generation will probably be the last one that fights it, because I can see all these like kids that are in schools and elementary schools, 10 and below. That's probably gonna be their world moving forward.
That's scary.
So, it just seems like it's not the worst thing, especially for your family's sake. If you find a cheap piece of real estate in the virtual world, if you invest in it now, it's not the worst idea. Crypto right now is becoming that too. Like, if you want money in this new virtual underground black market world or whatever, it doesn't hurt to have some form of cryptocurrency at this point.
Yeah. It's actually, right now is a great time to buy too, with Russia and Ukraine, baby girl, all that freaking downfall. It's the perfect time to start buying.
It hasn't bottomed out yet. I just checked during the podcast, but it is going down.
Nice.
Like, it's buying season essentially, and I have full intention to buy soon.
Hell yeah, jump on that crypto train, everybody, and we'll all sink together. All right, so if that'll do it for today, boys, I'm gonna close out this episode by saying, go outside, stop watching this podcast, get off the computer.
Just say go inside.
No, go outside. Go outside. Get off this. Stop watching this podcast. Close the internet. Delete your internet. Delete your computer. Go outside, man. Go
outside.
Yeah.
Go to your local Krispy Kreme and try their new Twix donut that looks like they pretty much did just take a donut and they shoved a Twix bar right up its ass. That's right up. And if you go to the store and you look at the display, it looks like the donut is taking a shit because that motherfucker is crowning. It wants to come out, okay? And let me tell you, I eat the shit up. Eat it.
Omid, I really like your chest hair sticking out, bro.
Oh my god, dude! I was
Change of pace.
I was talking about chest hair and fucking
all this
diarrhea donuts
and eating ass.
Oh, it makes you want to go to Krispy Kreme right now. Let's go again.
Yeah.
Let's get.
Pornhub,
All right, boys. Let's get off this podcast. Meeting in the real world. We'll get some Krispy
I can
Kreme.
imagine what that looks like when you microwave it. Oh man, it just gushes
All
out
right.
like a little butthole.
Jesus
Wow.
All right. Yeah, you guys want to meet up 10 minutes, get Krispy Kreme, get some in the real world, real Krispy Kreme? I'm down.
It's too much work, bro.
Fuck you. All right, so that'll do it for today's episode of Does This Offend You? Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment. Tell us, do you like living in the virtual world? Are you a loser? If not, tell us below. Tell us why we're losers. I have no idea. Is reality better? Let us have it. Don't forget, I am not Vlad. That's Vlad. That's Omid. I'm Danny. Next week, we talk about Sean Connery and how he is actually directly related to every one of us. He is a lustful guy. Was a lustful guy. Rest in peace, Sean Connery. See you next week, everybody.
Just